We were involved in the very first protests in Nevada at a time when almost all the drones were being operated from one single place in Creech Air Force Base. We find out now that the CIA missions have always been flown from there as well, and which is another layer of illegality on it. The question, why drones? Some people even have asked, can't you accept that there's possibly some progress, that maybe we're finding a way to make killing more precise, that we can just get as President Obama has said so eloquently, we can kill the people, get rid of the people who are meaning to cause us harm while leaving the community around them, the community they hide among, unharmed. It was interesting because it was only weeks after the president made that speech in 2013. It happened to be the last day of a 6-month federal prison sentence for me that I was watching that on that major address on television, and it was made from the National Defense University in Washington. And it was only about a week later that same university published a paper, a study, that said that the drone strikes they cause, at a level of great magnitude, more civilian deaths than manned air flight. And about that same time, Stanley McChrystal, who had been till recently the NATO head of NATO and U.S. forces in Afghanistan, said that he was frightened at the idea that Americans don't understand how horrible these drones are and what they do, to how much they're hated at a visceral level by the people of Afghanistan, and actually saying this is not helping our war effort there at all. The list goes on and on. There's Robert Gates, former Secretary of Defense. As soon as he was out, he was saying, warning about depending on this technology. This is just one weapon system, and we're talking about war, not just about a piece of machinery. But this is a very important piece. 2002. Dick Cheney, then Vice President, in an interview said that revealed the United States was planning military attacks on at least 50 countries. And he said that this war is going to take a long time, and he said this may become a permanent part of the way we live. And by all indications, it has, and by all indications from the candidates that are running for president, none of them are saying that that this war is going to end, in their term or perhaps in their lifetimes. Every single one of them is saying that this will continue, and I think this kind of technology is something that is necessary for us to be carrying on a war on so many fronts. We're at war in more countries now than we were in World War II. About a few months ago, there was a statement from the Pentagon where they said that they wanted to, in the next 4 years, increase the number of drone operations by 50%. And they recognized that one of the hard difficulties in doing that and meeting that goal is that the Air Force is having a very hard time finding people who are willing to fly the drones. And there's many reasons for that. But I think what it might come down to for a lot of people is that they just know you don't need to be a pacifist to see that this killing at long distance is a dishonorable thing to do, and that people don't want to be a part of this. But what they're saying why we need to increase the number of drones is because of increasing provocations from Russia and China. Which, well, first of all, the provocations with the military base being built in on Jeju Island in Korea, the naval base that will be give birth to nuclear battleships and submarines, to the fact that also in recent weeks NATO has deployed drones to Latvia. Now, so far, the drone strikes have been, this has been an asymmetrical war. The drone strikes have been against people that are far, far away, who cannot retaliate, against mostly non-state actors. The idea that after going after Libyans and Yemenis, killing farmers in their fields and shepherds, killing unarmed people in a car going down the highway, the idea that we're going to increase drone flights for the purpose of trying to meet a challenge from Russia or China is very, very disturbing. And we have the commander of the U.S. Air Combat Command, General Mike Hostage, who has said that the drones are useless in combat, would never use a drone in a contested situation, but that they're very good at these assassinations. Well, what are the leadership in Russia? What is Vladimir Putin going to think about drones being deployed, U.S. drones being deployed in Latvia? What are the Chinese command going to be thinking about? Well, these are China and Russia are two countries that have no military bases outside their territorial limits. Zero. And we have, by some counts, 800. So who's provoking whom? And the level of danger that this is ratcheting up is so irresponsible, so dangerous. Along with the drone, another technological advance with the drones is the fact, and I don't remember the name of this missile, but developing the United States is spending $1 trillion over the next 30 years, and of course, when you say $1 trillion, when you're talking about military spending, let's read 3 trillion. Yeah, if you see the trajectory of these things, they never tell us the whole cost up front. It's always much, much more. To develop a new generation of nuclear weapons, and one of these that they're touting is a missile that it's only like 1% of the payload of the blast of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs. And it's small, it's flexible, it can be delivered many ways, and we need to be I'm afraid the American people might be sold on this as an idea, as this is an advance toward disarmament. We've got a smaller, nicer, gentler nuclear weapon, but it's also a nuclear weapon that's so much more likely to be used, so much easier to be used. The payload will fit in a suitcase. Al-Qaeda, or the other people we're afraid of, certainly don't have the technological capacity to make a nuclear weapon that will fit in a suitcase. But we're working on it. And once that technology exists, it's not going to be limited to us. So this idea of having a cleaner, nicer war is very seductive and dangerous for all that. Americans just really need to get over the idea, the people of the United States need to get over the idea that we're doing these things for the benefit of the people in these